Super League, World Series Cricket. These are examples of metaphorical dong measuring contests in Australia over the years. But while those two stories have been absolutely flogged to death and even turned into bloody TV shows, there is one code war that does not get enough attention. We're talking protests, press releases, 2 Bathurst 1000's in 1 year, and more legal wrangling than a dodgy used car sale. It was the conflict that defined Australian touring car racing heading into the new millennium. Welcome to the post-round-up investigative special story time, the Super Touring War. Super Touring War, that's a bit lame. We can do something better than that. How about the post-round-up investigative special story time, Battle of Bathurst? It's getting there, but what about like the post-round-up investigative special story time, Bathurst Battle Beatoff? Yeah, I like that. Solid alliteration. Lock it in. Bring the intro. Oh, there isn't an intro? Wait. Okay, next segment. To truly understand the Bathurst Battle Beatoff, you have to truly understand the global collapse of Group A in the late 80s and early 90s. 1992, 6 years before the Darude Sandstorm. Group A, the rules set that governed touring car racing worldwide, imploded. The cars got too expensive. The technology arms race went absolutely feral. Every country panicked, and every country grabbed a different lifeboat. Germany doubled down on technology of Class 1. It was incredible. Carbon everything, space age aero, and it also cost so much money that the entire category collapsed by 1996 and vanished into a puff of douche marks. The British went the other way. They created the 2-litre Super Touring Series, or TOCA, or BTCC. Small engines, massive grip, and a frankly irresponsible amount of manufacturer backing. And it was fan-fucking-tastic. And in Japan, they flirted with Super Touring, but decided it wasn't their vibe and pivoted towards JGTC. Big wings, purpose-built race cars, and instant Gran Turismo nostalgia. Like that cash for Supra. And then Australia. Now people, throw a lot of blame towards the Nissan GTRs, Escape from Richards for killing Group A. And by the way, Escape from Richards, absolute dream team. Anyway, that's only half true. The grave was started to be dug earlier by the Jelly Bean. Ford Sierra RS 5000 Cosworth. A 2-litre turbo that sounded like a vacuum cleaner went up a fucking missile. And by 1988, the ATCC had basically become the Sierra Cup. The Commodores and Falcons, the cars people actually brought, were either mobile chicanes or not even in the actual series itself. I'm looking at you, Ford. Fans hated it. Teams went broke ordering parts from bloody Switzerland, and the accountants were screaming at each other. You couldn't even buy one from a dealer. I mean, imagine if you couldn't buy a race car from the dealer. Imagine you couldn't buy the road version, it would be absolutely silly. Imagine if that happened today, Chevrolet. So when the GTR arrived in 1990 and absolutely pegged everyone dry off its computer-controlled all-wheel drive, it was the final push in the hole. So Cam's had a decision to make. How do you fix the sport? On one side, you had the V8 loyalists.
Fucking V8s, mate.
And on the other side,
V8s, mate.
you had the ASTC, led by Grand Dude Terry Morris, TOCA CEO Alan Gale, and some quiet, well-reserved bloke named Peter Adderton.
Fucking V8s, mate.
Yes, that Peter Adderton. Cams had an absolute predicament. If they choose one format, the other side would revolt, and vice versa. So what did Cams do? Cams chose the old El Paso method.
¿Por qué no los dos?
So for a while, we had a mixed grid, which is like a UFC heavyweight fight, except for half a field were toddlers with plastic knives. The little 2-litre buzz boxes were just packing peanuts to pad out the grid for the V8s. But by 1994, the little guys had enough of being speed bumps. They spun off and created their own series, the Australian Manufacturers Championship, or AMC for short. Sounds prestigious. It was basically a support group for brands that didn't make V8s. The 1984 series was meant to be civilised, but by the time they got to Winton, it was less gentleman racing and more pub brawl at closing time. I mean, look at this shit. Punches were literally thrown. And I don't know how throwing fists at someone with a helmet on is going to help, but hey, more to you. Then came 1995. The Super Touring Series properly kicked off. Audi rocked up to punch on with BMW. Full-blown Euro invasion. And the racing? Absolutely fucking mental. Exhibit A, Lakeside. 3 cars through the kink. Paul Morris, Brad Jones, and Kiwi Supercar Jesus Greg Murphy decided physics were optional. And seriously, 3 egos going into a 1-car gap. Oh, things got even weirder. Volvo hired King of the Mountain himself. That's right, Peter Brock. Seeing Brocky in a Volvo was like seeing Santa Claus shaving his beard, or like, it just felt wrong and deeply polarizing. See what I did there? The cars were fun. The politics were cooked. The Bathurst 1000 was run by the Mount Panorama Consortium, which sounds like a Bond villain group, but realistically it was a 3-way love triangle between the ARDC, the Bathurst City Council, and Channel 7. And in 1995, the consortium wanted 90,000 people through the gate. Mostly Sydney day trippers and things like that. Corporate vibes, but realistically they were dreaming of the current state of things. They also announced that Channel 7 held the rights to the race until 2004. They acted like they owned the place. Like the V8s needed them. The V8 teams had unionised under Avesco, or Australia V8 Supercar Organisation. I don't know. Obviously we do a lot of research on the show. Anyway, moving on. It was led by Tony Cochrane, a man who could sell ice to Eskimos and charge them an invoice for refrigeration. Cochrane wanted a bigger cut. Actually, realistically, he wanted everything. He wanted the pie, he wanted the bakery, and he wanted the truck delivering the flour. The consortium laughed. They told Avesco to engage in some self-love. Big mistake. 1997, 2 years before Darude Sandstorm.
Unprecedented drama in national touring car racing meant organisers of the annual Great Race at Bathurst on the traditional October long weekend were left with no choice other than to introduce a new formula.
Australia Motorsport officially wet the bed. Avesco pulled the pin and said, "Fine, keep your name. We're taking the cars." Mum and Dad were screaming in the kitchen. Plates were flying. And us kids, us fans, we were sitting in the hallway wondering if we'd still get Christmas presents. Turns out, we got 2 Christmas presents. Woo!
But the fact that they've elected to choose the international formula, which is running rampant around the world with a great deal of success.
First came the official event. Official. October 1997, the AMP Bathurst 1000, Super Tourers only. Factory BMWs, Audis, and enough filler entries to make the grid look like a bloody marketplace where you've just put everything on lowest first. Like, it was pretty rough, man. They even brought some... Anyway, moving on. Jeff Brabham and David Brabham, that's right, the Brabham bros, won in a race that was a bit controversial because realistically there were some other people that won, but then they got disqualified. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, Jeff and David Brabham, brilliant drive, technically impressive, but it was about as exciting as watching paint dry in a library. Crowd numbers, you could have fired a cannon through the grandstand and hit no one. 2 weeks later, the V8s returned. Fucking V8s! But they couldn't call it the Bathurst 1000 for legal reasons. Lawyers said no. So they named it the Primus 1000 Classic. Primus, not the band, but a telecom company. I mean, by the way, John the Fisherman fucking slaps, great song. Anyway, moving on. Didn't really matter what the name was called because the hill was packed. The bogans returned to their natural habitat. Brock was there in what would be essentially his last race, but it wasn't his last race because his actual last race was after that, unless you count the one where he also did technically complete, but he didn't actually complete a lap, which in case is the race before that last race is his last race. Does that make any sense? The cars were loud and violent. Larry Perkins and Russell Lingle won. Middle fingers raised, message sent. You can own the track. You can own the name. But you can't own the soul of the sport. The fans voted with their feet. They wanted the thunder. They wanted the V8s. Fucking V8s. But the war wasn't over. 1998. 1 year before Darude Sandstorm. Again, 2 races. This time the Super Tourers brought the big guns. The 1998 AMP Bathurst 1000 was actually quite a banger. I mean, the amazing top 10 shootout. That Volvo, probably one of the best pole position laps in history. Though not a 2003 lap of the gods, still bloody good. This time the Super Tourers brought out the big guns. Ricard Rydell, Matt Neal, BTCC legends and absolute units behind the wheel. Not only that, they brought the awesome cars. The Volvo S40, which is still the coolest thing produced by Sweden in the modern era, and the Nissan Premier, which remains underrated. Seriously, the Premier is an awesome car. SR20 gang represent, whoop whoop. And not only that, there was actually a proper scrap to the end. I mean, oh, absolute theatre. In the end, Ricard Rydell and Jim Richards won. In a Volvo. Yes, Volvo have actually won a Bathurst before. For a brief and somewhat shining moment, the 2-litre cars actually had a pulse. Then the V8s raced there a month later and crashed into everything. Jason Brights and Stephen Richards won in a Falcon that looked like it had just been through a demolition derby. It was chaos, it was carnage, and it was exactly what the fans wanted.
Fucking V8s.
1999, the year of the Rude Sandstorm. Everyone was over it. It's too bloody confusing. Too expensive, too many Bathursts. The Super Tourers were broke, manufacturers packed up and left, and they decided to do one last race at Bathurst, but they actually couldn't afford the 1,000-kilometre race. So they ran 500, the Bob Jane T-Marks 500, the Diet Coke of Bathurst. Paul Morris won the race and took home $100,000, which was pretty decent, but realistically no one cared. I'm sorry, Paul. Sorry, dude. Meanwhile, the V8s returned for the FIA 1000. This was their victory lap. The consortium collapsed. Channel 7 realised that 6 hours of buzzing 2-litre cars rated worse than this very show. Tony Cochran and Avisco won.
Fucking V8.
The 1999 FIA 1000 was a cracker, with Steve Richards and Kiwi Supercar Jesus Greg Murphy winning the race, but realistically the result didn't matter. The split was over. The family was back together. Falcons versus Commodores until the end of the universe, or at least until the end of the Australian car manufacturing industry. Never forget, rest in peace.
Fucking V8s.
So what do we learn from the Bathurst Battle Beatoff? You can't force someone to like something just because it's internationally relevant. The Super Tour era was great. It was also a weird, expensive, tech-filled fever dream. It gave us great cars, great drivers, and some genuinely great and elite racing. They tried so hard, they got so far, but in the end, it didn't even matter.
It starts with
The V8s?
Fucking V8s.
Well, that's a marriage. Loud, alcohol-fueled, but it's our marriage. So what happened to the V8s? Well, world domination in Australia and New Zealand, realistically. 10, 15 years of just absolute awesome racing, and even now, like, it's still the most dominant form of Australian motorsport out there, despite some other series trying to compete with them in some way, shape or form. I'm looking at you, TCR. So cheers to that. I'm Maka, and this has been the Post Random Investigative Special Story Time. Bathurst Beatoff. Bathurst Battle Beatoff. Try saying that 10 times fast. Anyway, like and subscribe, and tell your mate with the BMW 318i that his car is still shit and it's not an M3. I'm looking at you. I know who you are. Yeah, so if you've made it this far, congratulations. Have another beer. Yeah, this is just something a bit new, and I'm just trying a few things out with expanding different content outside of the traditional post run dump stuff. So if you guys like it, you know, chuck some comments in the things below, and yeah, I'll try to do some more. But you know, if you also have some other suggestions, I'm all ears. So yeah, thanks for listening, and yeah, Happy New Year.